It doesn't matter if it's sealed up airtight. You just soak these for about 8 to 12 hours overnight. And normally I'll have about 6 of those at one time out on my kitchen counter. And what I sprout these are alfalfa sprouts. And with these, you can put them in a little fine mesh sprout bag and then soak them in the sprout bag overnight in the container and then drain them. And then you can, once they grow little tails like this, you can dump them out and grow them. Actually, I grow them in a pie pan. I just have a little pie pan with holes punched in the bottom and sprout them in that. You can use a sprouting tray if you want to. I find that all these sprouting jars and sprouting trays and things like that are totally unnecessary for growing stuff in your kitchen. You know, outdoors, it's a different story if you're growing greens and things like that. But with alfalfa and little seeds like that, you just put them in a fine mesh bag. You can get at home supply stores, you can get these mesh screen bags for paint in the paint departments, or you can get them online at different places. You can actually go to beer making supply houses and get small mesh bags for making beer. So there's different sources, but I think the easiest thing is just go to a place like Home Depot, and you can get, in the paint department, you can get a fine mesh bag about 6 by 9 inches for the small seeds. And then I also like to sprout green peas. These are one of my favorites. I love these. They're sweet, they're real tender, and after you soak them overnight, all of these different seeds, you basically just rinse them off about 3 times a day, morning, afternoon, or when you get home from work, and then before you go to bed. And do that for just 2 or 3 days, and these will grow tails on them. And then you rinse them off one final time, and you can put them in your fridge. And then you just rinse them off about once a day, you know, maybe not even that often. And you can keep them in your fridge and eat them. And they'll continue to grow in the fridge while you're sprouting them. I've also got mung beans. These are very high in protein. All these sprouts are very high in protein, slam full of amino acids and all kinds of nutrients, and a lot of life force in them. These are mung beans. And adzuki beans. These are a Japanese red bean. They're very high in protein. All of these are just absolutely wonderful. People always ask where I get my protein from. This is one of the places I get my protein from. Sprouts are just full of protein and amino acids for building protein and muscle. These are fenugreek. Fenugreek are bitter, but they have a nice taste to them. I generally don't like bitter sprouts, but I do like fenugreek for some reason. They have a nice taste to them. These are great support for cancer. They are supposed to have very good cancer-fighting agents in them. And then also I sprout green lentils. You could also do red lentils, any kind of lentils. They're very high in protein also. And they're just so easy to do. All of these legume-type sprouts, you know, they sprout in 2 or 3 days, and they're easy to put in your kitchen, have them growing in your kitchen, soaking in your kitchen, and have them in your refrigerator. And so I constantly have 6 of these in my fridge to eat on, and I have 6 of them out on the counter, soaking or sprouting, and I just rotate. So I'm constantly eating lots of sprouts, and that's what you want to do. Now, if you don't have time to grow sprouts nowadays, they're readily available in health food stores, most of them. They're pretty cheap. You can get mixtures of legume sprouts like these in little containers, and this is like $1.50. I mean, these are cheap. You can also get things like mung bean sprouts. This is another way of sprouting mung beans, which takes a little more time. You put them under pressure, and they'll sprout like this. I don't even bother with that because they're so easily available in stores. I just buy them, and they're inexpensive. But if you sprout them yourself, it's incredibly cheap. You can buy a 1-pound bag of any of these bean sprouts, any of these beans, organic for maybe $4 a pound, and that'll last you at least a month. I mean, they're just incredibly cheap. And so, you know, and if you're concerned about using plastic containers, you can also use covered Pyrex containers. I've never had a problem with off-gassing or anything like that with these containers. They're pretty inert. But if you've got, say, chemical sensitivity or something, you can grow them in Pyrex containers with covers on them. So very simple to do. I highly recommend it because this is what you want to be eating most of. You want to be eating a lot of sprouts and a lot of greens. Okay, we're going to juice some wheatgrass now, but before we start juicing, I want to talk to you a little bit about wheatgrass and why you would want to juice it to begin with. Wheatgrass juice is one of the most powerful things for regaining and optimizing health. You can drink it, you can put it in enemas, and you can put it in rectal implants. It's absolutely amazing for what it does, and there are some good books that you can read that give you information about it. Two of the ones that I prefer are the Wheatgrass book by Ann Wigmore and Wheatgrass, Nature's Finest Medicine by Steve Meyerowitz. I think the Steve Meyerowitz book is a little bit more in-depth and has more information about it, and that's the book that I prefer. Ann Wigmore is the person who founded the whole wheatgrass movement in the United States back in the 1950s when she created Hippocrates Health Institute with Victoras Kulvinskas. So you can get books about wheatgrass and learn about why you want to drink wheatgrass juice and use it in other ways. There's a lot of different uses for it. You can use it in poultices and all kinds of things. It has absolutely amazing healing properties. The chlorophyll in the juice is very profoundly healing and rejuvenative to the body and the cells. So I would highly recommend learning about all of the reasons why you should use wheatgrass juice and what you can do with it. I'm going to show you how to juice it and what kind of juicer to use, okay? So, first of all, I'm using the Solo Star 2 juicer from TriBest, and this is a single auger juicer, and they call it a single auger because it has a corkscrew-like auger. There are twin gear juicers that also work well for juicing wheatgrass, and there are dedicated wheatgrass juicers, and I find that the single auger juicers work just as well as dedicated wheatgrass juicers, in particular the Solo Star does. And I don't see any reason to buy a dedicated wheatgrass juicer. It used to be that a dedicated wheatgrass juicer did a better job, but that's not the case anymore. So I recommend just getting a Solo Star 2. Champion juicers are very common in health food stores, and they're very popular. But they don't do wheatgrass. They will not juice wheatgrass. The grass gets wrapped up around the shaft of the juicer. And you also cannot use a centrifugal juicer, which is typically what you see in department stores. It's a juicer like this. It has a basket inside like this, a screen inside like that. These juicers will not do wheatgrass. They won't do leafy greens. And that's why you don't want to use a juicer like that. Okay. So I recommend using a good single auger juicer like the Solo Star because they'll do everything. They'll do soft produce, hard produce. They'll homogenize nuts and coconut, and you can juice wheatgrass with them, and it does a good job. So first thing to do is put your juicer together. So I'm going to put the auger into the housing, and this juicer comes with a screen for juicing, and it comes with what they call a blank for homogenizing nuts and other things. And so we're going to use the juicing screen and just put it in there, and then we're going to put the end cap on. And then the juicer comes with two nozzles. One has a larger hole and one has a smaller hole. The smaller hole is what you want to use normally for juicing, and it just slides in like that. The larger hole you use for homogenizing nuts and seeds and other things, okay? And then also it's got a little hopper for making it easier to get things in the hole. Just put that on, and then the whole juicer assembly goes onto the motor like so. And I usually just twist it, and it locks like that. Okay? So when you're cleaning this, which I'll show you, you can just take this whole assembly off and take it to your sink and clean it without having to pull it apart on your countertop. So we've got that, and then we have the two containers. One is to collect the juice, and you collect the juice under here. The juice comes out down here, and then the pulp comes out the end of the nozzle here into this container. And just turn the juicer on and just grab a small portion of grass. If you take too much, it just makes it hard to get it into the juicer, and so we're just going to do small amounts of time. You just push it on in. Just keep grabbing and shoving. And you are going to drop blades of grass, so don't worry about it. Just push the stuff on in. And if you drop some grass, you can pick it up later. And typically when you drink wheatgrass juice, you drink about 2 ounces at a time, and you can do that a couple of times a day. I've heard of people drinking 8 ounces a day and seeing absolutely phenomenal results. Some people say that if you drink more than 2 ounces at a time, that it doesn't do you any good. I don't believe that. I think the more, the better. And down there. Okay, and if you notice this pulp, you can take a close shot of that pulp. You can see that's very dry pulp. This juicer does a great job. It actually does a better job than dedicated wheatgrass juicers. I've seen $2,000 wheatgrass juicers that don't do as good of a job as this juicer. So that's one reason why I recommend the Solo Star. That's very dry pulp. It's very crumbly and very dry. And you just take the juice and pour up about 2 ounces of it, and that right there is about 2 ounces of wheatgrass juice, and you just slug it down. And ideally you want to drink wheatgrass juice on an empty stomach and wait at least a half an hour before you eat anything to get optimal benefits from it. But a lot of people, especially when they first start drinking wheatgrass juice, it may upset their stomach because it's very strong, it's very potent. Good wheatgrass juice tastes sweet. A lot of these wheatgrasses that you see in health food stores, they're hydroponic, they taste bitter and they have a really terrible taste. Good wheatgrass is sweet, and you can grow wheatgrass yourself for pennies. You can also buy it at different places. People grow it and sell it cut in bags. So, at any rate, that's juicing wheatgrass. All right. So, how do we clean the juicer? Well, I'm going to show you. It's very simple, actually, especially with wheatgrass. It's very, very simple. Basically, you just turn the collar on the juicer motor. The whole unit comes out. And normally what I do is I take the juice can and hold it underneath just in case it drips anything. Put it over the sink, and then this hopper just comes right off. And this piece twists right off. And the screen comes out, and the auger's coming out with it. And you can just take the auger and everything apart. So I take everything apart, and it just rinses off. With wheatgrass, it's actually very easy. It really just rinses off. Everything just falls off. It's extremely easy to do. And I use a little sprayer to clean the inside out. Like so. The screen just rinses off normally. The grass just falls right off of it. You can see. It just comes right off. From the hopper. And then the nozzle. And you'll get a little plug of grass in there. You can push it through with your fingers, or you can take the brush that comes with it. And it just comes out like that. Very